Oh, hi! This week, we're gonna do a t-shirt upcycle because I'm reverting back to 15-year-old Joe, which, current circumstances, you're just gonna go back to your beginnings. Although, it's still new and improved techniques and such. Like, I didn't know how to do the things I'm gonna show you. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure current me knows how to do this, but we're gonna give it a try, which is something I have done before. And some of my first upcycles included swapping out the sleeves for some other color material. But I'm also going to not just cut this collar off because I feel like I'm dying having something this close around my neck right now, but I want to open it and then make a new neckband because I think that will be a cool thing. Otherwise, I'm just cutting this off. Also, yes, this is the Maximum Fun logo. Thank you, Jaime, for this shirt. I'm finally getting around to updating it because, y'all, I only have, I think, 3 things left in my mending pile. I've made such a big dent. I am going to do a pandemic makes roundup because I got through another 5 things this morning and I'm so excited about it because it's stuff I've been putting off. A lot of it wasn't even that complicated, but it was just too many things, so I kept not doing any of them. So yeah, a lot of you seemed to be on board with that video, so that will be coming by the end of the month. Probably not next week, but maybe. I'm undecided. We'll see how I'm feeling. But anyways, as for the current project we're talking about, let's focus. Here's what you need. A t-shirt that you want to fuck around with, which in my experience just seems to be the most common type of project, especially when you're first starting sewing. T-shirt shit, man. It's a gateway drug. So I also have some leggings. It's missing the butt part because many summers ago, before the fucking road trip I took that I still have not edited the footage from 2 years ago, I needed some shorts to go under my dresses and I was on the road for 2 weeks, so I couldn't do laundry and I didn't want to just keep sweating in the same 2 pairs of shorts that I wear under skirts the rest of the time, so I added 2 more to the repertoire. But anyway, this is a lot of material to work with for what I need here. So any kind of knit scrap. I mean, this is a similar stretch to the shirt, so especially since we're going to copy these sleeves, you want to keep that in mind. Really just work with what you have. Younger me would have just grabbed literally anything to work on. As long as it has some give, especially for the neckband, you should be golden, and this will be hopefully quick and easy. But how often do I say that and then things go to shit right out the gate? So, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. First step is to put my other shirt back on. That doesn't make me feel like I'm about to get decapitated. Much better. Okay, we're breathing. Everything's fine. We're not choking ourselves out for fashion. So yeah, this shirt has like the navy logo on it, which is why I'm going with this. I mean, it's kind of like they're jeggings, okay? I bought a pair of jeggings. It's almost like a warmer toned navy. So I think going with denim, for some reason, denim, regardless of the shade, seems to be a pretty neutral thing. So yeah, it's just gonna bother me less if it's this. Plus, this is also super soft material, so having this on my arms as well as around my neck, I think is going to be really comfy. And that is the point of t-shirts, is it not? Now, everyone's favorite part of any project, the unpicking process. So I am just going to remove this part. A lot of t-shirts have this bit. It's like a bias binding that goes over the back of the neckband and across the top of the shoulders. I think it's just to reinforce it. Ooh, this is giving me an idea. I may reinforce it with some ribbon. See how thorough I'm feeling once we get to the actual assembly part, once I have unpicked all of this. But I'm gonna have to remove the neckline chunk anyway, because it's kind of sandwiched in there. And then obviously I'm gonna take off the rest of the neckband, so go around the front. Because maybe I can use this ribbing for a cuff or something somewhere down the line, so I'll probably save it for a future project. That's why I'm going through the effort of preserving it instead of just cutting around all of this. But since we're opening up the neckline even more, you can just cut around it, save yourself a lot of headache and time. And then because I'm copying the sleeves and reattaching them, I'm not affecting the shape, but just I'm duplicating them. So I'm going to very tediously unpick every stitch from the sleeve, and then we're going to use it basically as a pattern. The rest of the shirt fits very nicely, I think, is very flattering. At first I thought it was going to be too tight, especially quarantine weight, but I think it works, especially with the shorts I'm wearing, because they're nice and high-waisted, and I think everything should be high-waisted because it looks nice and is comfortable as shit. God, when I first started wearing jeans, they were low rise. It was in high school, so we're talking mid-2000s. Low rise, super stretched denim, a little bit of a flare situation down the bottom. Now it's skinny jeans or bust. I don't even like boot cut anymore. It is bonkers that I never used to wear jeans because I was like, they're too restrictive. And then I very quickly went to pretty stiff, skinny jean situation. And that is the thing, man. Once you find some good jeans, there is not much that compares to that. I never thought I would say that. Younger me would be so horrified, but they're just good. Good jeans are real good. I have to say this, especially once they're nice and broken in, that is an additional perk of thrifting things, is someone already did all the hard work for you. And also jeans are like really bad for the environment. I mean, so are like all new garments, which is why I am like pretty hard in the secondhand situation. Anyways, this is too quick and dirty of a project to get way up on a soapbox for. So let's just get to unpicking. I may pour myself a glass of wine and just relax. I should be not working today, but I'm just tremendously excited to work on this project now that I've decided what I'm going to do with this shirt and like get further through my mending alterations pile. Let's unpick some shit and maybe watch some Ask a Mortician videos. All right, so it's been a little while. I got all the unpicking done. I had some lunch. Oh, I grabbed a drink and then didn't open it, even though I sound like I have had a couple. I am just very sleepy now. This is my sleeveless, collarless shirt now, and this is one of the sleeves that I cut up. I actually might make the sleeve a little bit longer, so I was gonna unpick the hem at the bottom of this, but I think I'm gonna extend it even further than that anyway. So since we're gonna be adding length, why bother futzing around with that unpicking? So shirt sleeve pattern piece now. I have the complementary fabric set aside over here, and then I'm also gonna grab some ribbon so I can reinforce these shoulder seams. So let me grab the ribbon I'm going to use, and then we'll do some noodling, shall we? So yeah, I just grabbed this, I don't know, 1/4 inch wide, 3/8 of an inch wide satin ribbon. And it's just going to help the shoulders not get stretched out. I did notice that made a difference when I did it in the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book. So since I removed that bias bit, this will help it not get all wonky. Let's cut everything out, including the new neckline. All right, so I want this lower, but I don't want it so low that it's going to interfere with the logo here. Let's call it just like the midpoint here. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it because I feel like it. Fold it in half so the shoulder seams meet, and you just make sure there aren't any creases or anything under the fabric. Keep this raw edge lined up with itself. You can pin it if you want to, but yeah, I'm just making sure there aren't any wrinkles underneath. And then take your rotary cutter or some scissors, and I'm gonna cut that far in all the way around. Make it nice and easy. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm taking about a 1/2 inch off the whole thing. And there we have a little bit more of an open neckline. Cool. So obviously I don't expect everyone to be using leggings for this part, but just if you happen to have some type of tube situation happening, you know, a long sleeve perhaps from a different shirt or whatever, just cut that seam open. I have 2 pant legs, so I'm going to lay them on top of each other, wrong sides together or right sides together. And I'm going to lay my shirt sleeve. I guess it can go upside down, but you do want it to stretch the same way. All right, I should go over and use my nice new rotary cutting mats, but I do have everything laid out right here, so I'm not going to. I will use my crappier rotary cutter though. All right, so I'm measuring down quite a ways. So I'm about 2.5 inches down from the original bottom of this sleeve because I need to take into account this is going to get hemmed, but I also want the sleeve to be a little bit longer. And honestly, like if I just cut it longer and then I end up cutting it shorter, I have that option where you don't get to make it longer once you've already cut it. And rather than have it continue to narrow in, I'm going to angle this a little bit wider. This is the beauty of knits, is you have lots of wiggle room. All right, so we get slightly longer sleeves. I'll press these out before we attach stuff. And then I'm actually gonna take that bit I cut off of the shirt to widen everything and use that as like a little bit of a guide for the new neckband. So it's not gonna be perfect. We're obviously winging it here. You can do test runs by making a neckband with whatever your secondary stretching material is and making sure it fits over your head comfortably. It's all gonna be preference here. So I'm basically just using the width of this legging scrap. So like I don't want the neckband to be super thick. So I think I'm just going to cut this 1.5 inches wide. And then we've got about a 19-inch long strip. I will fold this in half and see. Oh yeah, that's going to be way looser. Yeah, that's gonna work fine. Perfect. And hey, if that doesn't work, I will come up with a plan B and it'll be fine. So yeah, let me press everything out and then we will get to stitching. Things are happening. It's funny, it definitely is the taking apart process that always takes so much time in upcycles. But you know, starting something from new, you have to deal with cutting out the pattern, tracing out the pattern, cutting out all your brand new fabric, piecing it all together. There is a longer construction process. So it kind of evens out either way for me because it's just a different amount of prep work. And then the prep work to construction ratio is also different, depending on the project, obviously. But don't be intimidated because unpicking something is going to seem really time consuming. And also don't be afraid of making something from scratch because it seems really time consuming. It's all for fun, right? Like we're doing this for fun. I'm learning stuff, so I'm having an absolute blast, even though it's a fucking t-shirt upcycle. I still get such a kick out of doing these things. Can you tell? Sewing is like my favorite thing in the whole world. Okay, so everything has been pressed. I tried to press out the t-shirt and then just got annoyed and bored, so then I stopped. Right, let us reinforce the shoulder seams before we do any construction. So I'm just gonna cut 2 pieces so I don't have to deal with it being on the roll that are about the length of the shoulder seam there. I know you can use like elastic that is specific to this type of seam. Could do twill tape or something like that, but this ribbon seems to be fine. Also, it's what I have. All right, so it's machine time. I'm just gonna switch to a zigzag and go from the inside. I have the seam allowance pointed towards the back. I guess I'll make the zigzag a little bit wider maybe. And also, yeah, matching thread because this will be exposed on the top. But all I'm doing is zigzagging this along that seam. Nothing fancy. And try not to stretch the seam as you're sewing this on. So ta-da, nothing fancy. Maybe try to do a better job centering it the whole time instead of how I did it. That's it from the outside. Not too bad. Next, I'm going to attach the short ends of the neckband together, right sides together. Then I'm going to open up that seam. So I'm folding it in half this way now. Then I'm going to baste these 2 edges together, trying to sew these 2 layers together and the shirt together. It's just too much to deal with, make more mistakes that way. So it's worth it to me to just add an extra step, baste this together so it's nice and even. I'm only paying attention to 2 edges instead of 3. So yeah, I'm gonna hit this with a zigzag pretty close to the edge because I don't want these stitches to show once I attach it at my standard seam allowance I'm doing. Okay, there's our neckband. Still got good stretch to it. So now I'm going to find the mid front point of the t-shirt, mark it with a pin. Likewise, find the center back point, put those 2 front and back center pins together, and we'll find the side points. So we're quartering this. I'm going to do the same thing with the neckband. Now it's just a matter of matching those up. My shirt is inside out, so I'm going to tuck this to the inside. So we're going right sides together, although the neckband, it doesn't matter what way it's facing because it's folded over like that. So both sides are the right side, but you do need to make sure it's stitched to the right side of the shirt. So we're just going to line up all those pins. You can use clips if you find it easier. Sometimes with slippery, thin knits, the pins like to slide out and it's super infuriating when you've already gone through the quartering process. Okay, so now it's just going to be a matter of stretching between those points so they lay flush. This is the other reason I don't want to fuck with stitching all 3 layers at the same time, because like if this middle bit was folding under, then it would be sticking out after you stitched it, and like it's just so much less of a headache doing it this way. So this is my preferred method, but you do you. And then yeah, don't pull on your needle when you're stretching stuff like this. Have your other hand around back and pull against your own hands. All right, so then it's gonna peek out like that. Again, I just wanted like a little guy, not too bad. I like it. I will serge this, but I'm gonna wait to fuck with my serger until I can like do everything at once. Batch sewing, baby. All right, so I took that original sleeve out, so it undid some of the serging from the side seam. So I'm just gonna restitch those 2 points just so nothing's coming apart while we're trying to rebuild. And obviously do that at the shoulder seams too, but I was reinforcing them up here, so I wasn't worried about it. I'm going to take my sleeves, fold each one right sides together. I'm going to sew that underarm seam. Okay, so now I'm going to take my sleeve right side out while my shirt is inside out. So I'm going to line up side seam of the shirt, underarm seam. Oh, wait, I do need to serge the underarm seam first because I'm not going back over that yet. Okay, so stitch insert the underarm, then we'll get into inserting it. Okay, so I serged that neckline while I was at it, just to get it out of the way, as well as the edge cuff part of the armholes, just since it was assembled, and it was right there. Where the fuck were we? Got our shirt inside out. We've got our sleeve right side out. We're going to tuck this in here, lining up that side seam of the shirt to that underarm seam of the sleeve. Hit that with a pin, and then I'm going to find what's like the top center of the sleeve, and then same thing with the armhole. It's not necessarily going to be the shoulder seam is the center point. I used to assume that, but it's not the case. But you know, you're not too far off. We're like 3/4 of an inch away there. So this is going in right sides together, but it can be confusing to like figure it out in your brain. So give yourself time if you haven't fucked around with this before. And then because these are different curves going into each other, I'm just going to kind of like walk my hand along here. Well, hands, I do have 2 of them, and find the center point between the other center points. So again, basically quartering it. So we'll stitch that once I get this one pinned in. Okay, so my sleeves are inserted and I serged them already. So now it's just the decorative things. Well, I mean, one is technically kind of hemming, but top stitching also. So as I mentioned, I already sleeved, already serged the cuff part of the sleeve. And actually, well, let's be smart. Let's use the matching thread first and then switch it. This seam allowance really wants to fold out because it's a round curve. Round shapes tend to have curves on them, don't they? So I'm going to do a twin needle top stitch. You can do a zigzag though if you don't have a twin needle or are too scared to do it. Like me, I was a coward for a long time. And I'm just gonna do it to keep the seam allowance tucked down. So I'm going to push the seam allowance towards the shirt. So it'll just be the little collar peeking out like this. Although actually, maybe I will just stick with a zigzag for this because I have the zigzag top stitching here. I kind of like the idea of having it in both spots. Keep it looking intentional. Give it a cohesive look. All right, before we do the whole thing, let's see. I don't hate how that's looking. Not that you can see from that far. All right, and there's what that looks like. Yeah, I don't hate that. Obviously, this is visible because it's not on me, but you won't see that inside stitching from there. So now it's just a matter of hemming these sleeves. So yeah, it's nothing fancy here. I'm just gonna fold this up once, maybe twice. Twice seems a little bulky. I'm gonna fold it up once and then zigzag from this side. Well, I guess if I'm zigzagging and not doing the twin needle, I can do it from this side because it'll look the fucking same either way. Y'all, look at this fucking neckline and the sleeves. Yeah, this feels like a very different, very better shirt. I'm so pleased. Good movement. I like the length of the sleeves. I'm glad I made them a little bit longer. It just feels like less of a baby doll top now, and the new neckline doesn't make me feel like I'm losing circulation to my brain. It's nice. Oh, it's so comfortable. I wasn't sure how the neckline was going to turn out because I've never done that kind of alteration, but I had confidence. It's a new superpower I've unlocked this year, and I feel fucking unstoppable. Don't worry, there are plenty of projects that humble me greatly, but it's super exciting when you test out a new thing and it actually goes okay because you kind of know what you're doing a bit. I call this a success. Ooh, okay, so speaking of new things, there's a new historical costuming project going on called Costuming in Color. There was another project by the same person called Costuming and Cocktails, I believe. They're both by La Bella Donna History, who is the creator I'd like to recommend you check out. She's over on Instagram. I don't think she's done much in the way of YouTube stuff, but I think this new series is supposed to be YouTube stuff. Her name is Gigi, and just fucking stunning. She's also someone that I found through COVID, the costuming college thing that happened. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out. Otherwise, I will shut the fuck up about it. But it was a really cool online thing. Here I am rambling about it anyway. Sorry. Ooh, helpful if I get the old lady cookie crumbs off of me. Also, obviously, links to Gigi's stuff in the description as well. I will also have links to other places you can find me on the internet, including Patreon, which it is because of these lovely people here that I'm able to do this gestures wildly whole thing. They are the ones that make this shit happen, so thank them if you enjoy any of the silly shit that I put out here. There'll also be links to my Etsy shop and my coffee page and my Instagram and Twitter if you want to come say hi over there for no monies. And I will see you all back here with another video next Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out. Dangerous pants.